hello everyone, and welcome back to another lesson. I just wanted to go over a couple things with you before we started getting into the CSS libraries and how to use them. So thus far, this is where we started at absolute beginner HTML, and then we went down through all these different lessons. And the last lesson was JavaScript, and you notice how I start out with the HTML, and then I go into CSS, and then I go to JavaScript a little bit. Well, there's a reason why I'm doing that, because as you've probably already figured out, all these languages have to work together, okay? And there's, in order for you to create a website and you want all the latest and greatest in a web page, it's important that you know how to combine these all together. So when we were doing CSS, I was showing you different methods and different tricks and different things that you could do, like whenever we were coding the website with CSS. But there's another way to bring in CSS, and if you remember how I showed you how to do the style tag and the inline CSS, and then the library, bringing in the library. Well, that was an important aspect for you to learn, because now I'm going to show you, as we walk down our little trail here, on how you can use external libraries from other servers. So we're going to begin by right-clicking, hit New Document, Empty Document, type index.html, all lowercase, index.html. And then if you are on a Windows or Mac, go to the description in this particular video and click on it. It's going to take you to a website. If you're on a Mac, it has instructions to create a file on your desktop for a Mac. If you're on Windows, it has instructions on how you could create it for Windows. So, and now I'm going to open it with my editor. I'm going to hit open with gedit, like we always do. And let me bring it over here into this screen. And we'll start off with the bare bones of an HTML document, just like we always do. Okay, so that's why I always have you guys go back to this, because this is something that you have to do every time. Whoop. HEAD, put our head tag in, and let's go down here and put in our body, BODY, BODY. And then we're going to go inside the head tag like we always do and put our title, TITLE. And the title for this particular lesson is going to be using external libraries, or CSS, external CSS libraries for an absolute beginner. So I'm just going to paste that in there, and we'll just copy this title tag, copy, and come down into the body tag, paste that in there, and change these to our H1 tags. Okay. So whenever we're constructing a website or a web page, you can use external libraries to help you code your website faster. CSS libraries are code that's pre-programmed CSS, so you don't have to sit there and program, write out all that code. But once you know the structure of the code, then you just name your elements or your tags after that library structure. Many of the CSS libraries that are available help you create responsive websites. Whenever I talk about responsive, that means they'll work on a computer, they'll work on a tablet, they'll work on a smartphone. So that's what responsive does. So in an earlier lesson, we programmed a mini site, the mini site with CSS, and we learned that we need to set up the IDs and the classes, then we style them with CSS commands. We also learned that browsers have their own set of CSS in them. And there's something called a Stylesheet Reset. We haven't gotten into it too much, but what this does is it takes the common things that browsers have programmed in them and sets them back to 0. And then you just enter your CSS commands to control what the web pages do. Well, these CSS libraries more than likely already have the reset in them. Okay, so the HTML structure with CSS. So you have to first set up your elements like we're doing here. The body's an element, the H1 is an element. Then you style them with your CSS like we have been doing. And everything of course starts with this HTML. If you don't have HTML elements in place, you can't style a website. So if we didn't have any HTML elements in place, and we just started writing CSS, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't do anything. Okay. So this brings us to the advantage of using CSS libraries. And there's a few things that happen. You can code faster. It's responsive for all your devices. You can use these libraries instantly, like we're going to demonstrate today. There's pre-installed icons that you can use on the fly, and there's usually a lot of support for these libraries. Well, how do you use a CSS library? In order to use a CSS library, you have to bring it into your web page, whatever you're working on. So in an earlier lesson, we did this by calling an external file. We bring in the CSS library no differently. So you can use it in two different ways. Number one, you could download the CSS library and put it in your head tag. And remember, in the head tag, we started out with a link like this, and we will put href equals, and then we had style.css like that, and then we set the relationship to equal Stylesheet. We can also do a type here. Type equals text/CSS. So you'll see that happen a lot. And this slash at the end with HTML5, you don't have to put it in. Earlier versions were a little bit more strict. Okay, so that's the way it goes whenever you have something locally, because we don't have a full URL here. However, if you're using an external style sheet from another server, you have to type in, http://other website /style.css. This is just kind of like an example. Otherwebsite.com, of course, style.css. So you're going out to another website and grabbing their file of style, and you're bringing it into this web page. All right. Now let's go over a list of libraries that we can use. Now the one that we're going to be using in this lesson is Bootstrap. And at the post on the website, I have other things that you can use as well. But I'm going to use Bootstrap because I think that it's the best, and it's real easy to get started. We're going to go ahead and grab the library for that. And so we're just going to go inside here, this href, and I'm going to paste it in. All right. Now you'll notice it's going to an HTTPS, which is a secure socket layer, okay, which encrypts everything on the web page from this particular one. For instance, if you have an HTTPS in your domain name, you would want to use an HTTPS if you're bringing in a style sheet from another source, okay? And it's called maxdn.bootstrapcdn.com. And this is the file path going to this particular file, bootstrap.min.css. Okay, and you could actually take this and load this up in a browser. So let's go ahead and copy that. We'll save it here, and let me bring over a browser window. And if you paste that in there, you're just going to see a lot of code. See all these different codes? So you have a lot of different codes that are in here, and you can tell the classes from the IDs by looking for the periods and so on and so forth. There's glyphicons. These are icons that are within it, but I'm not going to let you worry about that too much because I'm going to kind of walk you through it. Okay. So we brought in this. Now let me just go ahead and save this, and well, let me take it out. I'm going to take this out real quick. I'm going to save it, and I'm just going to put it back in there. But I just want to show you the web page before and after it's activated. Okay, so here's before. We don't have Bootstrap in this particular one. You see, there's no Bootstrap in there, no external library. But now let's go ahead and bring this up here, and I'll save this file with that in there, and we'll refresh. Okay, now notice the font just changed. Okay, so we have our Bootstrap in here, and we're ready to begin coding. Now, it's really important that you understand, the elements whenever you're trying to give, um, when you're trying to discern positioning on a page. So Bootstrap has a div, and the class equals container. All right, let me show you what this does. And usually you encompass everything like in the body in this container. We'll close out that div right here. Let me go ahead and save it. And if I refresh the page, you'll notice that this is over, So it's using that div ID of container, and it's getting some margin on the side. If you ever want to see what it's doing, you right click, inspect like we did before, and now you can see all of the classes coming in. If you hover over here, you can see that it's pulling in from that style sheet right there. Okay, and you can see all the commands that are being implemented on it. If we go to container here, you can see that it's being set at a width of 1170. We have padding on the right, padding on the left, margin right, margin left is auto, so on and so forth. So you see how this is starting to control the web page. Let's go ahead and talk about a couple other things. Bootstrap has a div class of well, all right? And this class of well is pretty cool. And let's go ahead and close out that div tag. And this is a well. All right, we'll go ahead and save that. And let's refresh the page. Now see, this is a well. This is kind of gives you that little box with the background in it, and shrinks the text down. Let's go ahead and talk about Jumbotron. So a lot of times in Bootstrap there's a heading like right up towards the top of the page. And so let's go ahead and right under container here, let's put in a div class equals Jumbotron. Now I'm not making these up. These actually are with the Bootstrap system, okay? And you could do well just by looking it up. Go to A1 Website Pro. I have a lot of different information on Bootstrap. Okay, this is a Jumbotron. Okay, and I'll show you what this does. If you save that, refresh, here we have the Jumbotron up here. It's kind of like the well, all right? And so let's go ahead and talk about being mobile responsive. If we take this and we shrink it down, you notice how it automatically pushes them words down. Okay, so if you're on like a tablet like this or a cell phone, it's taking care of all that for you in that CSS, so you don't have to sit there and code it. And I feel like, I'm trying to teach you guys the fastest and most reliable way to get into web development, so I want to show you this stuff. Let's talk about the grid. A lot of times we'll have information that we want to show like in 3 columns, okay? And Bootstrap has something called the grid system. And so we'll start out with div class equals row, okay, like that. And then we'll close that row out. And inside the row, we're going to have the columns, okay? So this is the way it works. Let me just show you. Div class equals col hyphen sm for small, and then hyphen 12. Or let's do this one at 6. All right. Okay, this is a column. And let's close out that div. And what we're going to do, got to make sure we put our quote in there. What we're going to do is we're going to copy this, go down to the next one, and instead of row I need div there, don't I? And this is going to be column 1, and this will be column 2, just like so. And I'm going to hit refresh, and whenever we hit refresh on the page, you can see that there's this here and there's this here. Okay, so we have 2 different columns, but let's say that we wanted 3. Now what I want to point out to you is that 12 is the total number. that you could put in these columns. So if you wanted 3 columns, then you would put 4, 4, and 4, which make 12. Okay, and so let's go ahead and grab that, and let's put column 3 right here. Okay, and we'll go ahead and save that. I'll refresh the page, and you'll see what happens. See, now we have 3 columns. But I want to show you what happens whenever we start shrinking the browser down. So if we grab this and we start shrinking the browser down, notice what happens to those columns when we get too small. They put them right underneath of each other because it can no longer withstand the width, so it just throws them underneath. So that's a mobile responsive design, and you're using the library to take care of that stuff for you. Now you can put anything that you want to in these columns. For instance, if you wanted to put a well in those columns, we'll just grab this whole thing and we'll put this in column 1. And this is a well inside column 1. All right, let me just go ahead and save that, and we'll hit refresh. Now see, now we have a well inside that column. All right, and so as long as you understand the math, this could only be 12 columns wide. This is really going to help you whenever you're trying to separate things on a web page. Now, you can override the CSS with inside the Bootstrap, okay? So let me just go ahead and show you how to do that. And we'll just go ahead and grab this, copy, and we'll paste it here. But we're going to make our own style.css, style.css. All right, and so let me go ahead and copy this because I want to create that file. I haven't created it yet. And we're going to hit new, and then we'll go save, and then I'm going to save it on my desktop because that's where we're working from. And we're going to call it style.css. All right, style.css, just like that. All right, let's save that. Okay. So now whenever we look at Jumbotron here, let's say that we wanted that background to be a light blue. If you right click, inspect the element, come to this Jumbotron, and you can see that the class of Jumbotron is right here. Okay, so the class of .jumbotron is what you want to use. Okay, so here we go. .jumbotron, just like so. Open and close parentheses. Then come down in here like we were coding before and type background hyphen color. Okay. And then that will be light, L-I-G-H-T-B-L-U-E, camel case. So let's save that. And if we refresh, you can see now it's a light blue. So you can override these different things within the Bootstrap library. Now, I want to show you something here. What do you think is going to happen if we put this CSS style sheet on top of this one? Let me just show you. Let me paste it in there, and then we'll go ahead and refresh. Why are we not seeing our blue color? Okay, now this is a very important thing for you to understand because it's not only going to help you with CSS, it's going to help you with JavaScript later when we get into that. Whatever is called in last on this page takes precedence. Whenever a computer reads from the top to bottom, left and right, just like the English language. So whenever we want to override something, a custom external style sheet, we want to make sure that it's on the bottom. Okay, on the bottom after we want to make sure it's the last thing called in. A lot of times people would take these style sheets and put them in the footer, and you could do that. That's no big deal. So once we do that, we refresh the page, we see we get our blue color back. So that's an important thing you guys want to remember whenever you start doing your custom styles. All right. Now Bootstrap, there's a lot of other things that you can do, but I just want to give you an idea on how you could start managing it yourself, and you could start building a really nice website with these external libraries. Okay, I wanted to show you a couple other things too before I cut you loose on the external library. If you go to the website, let me go ahead and publish this post for today. And let me bring it over here. You can see Bootstrap in action here, like whenever you're coming down over this using external libraries. And we'll go ahead and scroll down here. Whenever you're going over the lesson, you're going to see the Try It Here button now. So if you want to see Bootstrap in action, you just click there. So if you always have a reference to come back to. And you can see we have all the code in this side. And then when we click Try Code, you can see it here. So if you're trying to create a button or want to know what something looks like, you can actually edit the code here. And I'll just put, we'll just say test here and click Try Code, and you can see that now test is right there. All right, so this is a quicker way for you to experiment with your code and bring in these libraries. You can see that the Bootstrap libraries are being brought in here. So let me go down a couple things. Number one, we have CSS for entire websites, okay, that want to help you style your entire website. But we also have CSS for features for website. For example, this Animate CSS is a really cool feature. And if you click here to see it in action now, let me show you what happens. Okay, so if I hit Try Code, you can see that the effect is taken on here, but I have a bunch of the other things that you could do with this particular CSS library, which is right here. And you copy this and you paste it into your web page, and you'll be able to do it. So what I'm going to do, it's going to stay up here, but I'm going to copy all of this, all right? And we're going to go to our index.html. I'm going to just paste it in there, okay? We're going to paste it in there, and we're going to save it, and we're going to edit it. So I can show you how to do these things quickly. And let me go ahead and find out where the hell my web page went. There we go. Let's refresh. Now you can see, now here's this effect. There's this effect here. And we can go ahead and do a flash effect. If we copy this, notice the class, animated infinite flash. And then we can see the effect there. So let me go ahead and refresh the page. Now you can see it flashed in and out. But you could actually use these along with other libraries. So we're just going to go ahead and take this library here, copy. Let's put Bootstrap back in there like this. And let me go ahead and refresh. So now we have our Bootstrap library back in there. Now let's call in that animated library, shall we? So we'll paste that in there. So now we have 3 different style sheets rocking and rolling in here. And we're going to go ahead and give a class to our h1 tag, okay? So let's type in class equals, and then this particular one is animated, A-N-I-M-A-T-E-D, infinite. This makes it do it over and over again. Okay, infinite, and then bounce, B-O-U-N-C-E. Let's go ahead and save that. And if we refresh the page, our title should start bouncing unless I did something wrong. Okay, so there we see it bouncing. Okay, so let's go ahead and refresh the page. All right. I must have misspelled infinite. It's supposed to do it over and over again. So let me go ahead and animated infinite bounce. All right, let's go ahead and save that. Okay, so we see it, you know, that's an example on how you can use 2 different external libraries to create effects within your web page. Okay. Bootstrap also has something called glyphicons. And glyphicons are great because they're images and icons that you can use throughout your web page. Let me give you an example of glyphicons. If we go back to our page here, And let's say that we wanted to use an image with inside this animated infinite bounce. Okay, let's say that we wanted to do that and maybe have a search. Well, with Bootstrap that already has the glyphicons or icons that are already in there, all you would do is type in span, span, and then you give it a class equals, okay, whatever the class is going to be. And let's go ahead and close out that span so we don't forget. And inside this class, we're going to give it a name that triggers those glyphicons to come in. So glyphicon, hard to speak. And then we want to type in glyphicon again, glyphicon, and then hyphen and whatever icon we want to use, envelope. Okay, and let me go ahead and save that. And if you refresh, you'll see there's an envelope there. Okay, so you can start using these glyphicons to your advantage, you know, to make your website more clear depending on what you're talking about. Maybe you're sending an email and you want to use an envelope for that. But there's much more to be discovered and many more things to do. In the next lesson, we're going to go ahead and create another web page, but this time we're going to use Bootstrap to do it. And then we're going to use in these other libraries that provide functionality and look and feel to our website, and compare that to what you did earlier whenever you were styling everything yourself. All right, this is Max with A1 Website Pro. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to send me a message. Thanks. Bye.